Hi guys, Kai here and welcome back to a brand new Premier League predictions video for the season 2018-2019. Now we've done this for the last two seasons, well this will be the third season now in a row, and we've had some good calls, some bad calls as well, and remember this is just a bit of fun. I'm sure a lot of your predictions will be totally different to mine, and we're going to be jumping straight into the bottom of the table. Then the bottom team that I say is going to get relegated first is going to be Brighton and Hove Albion. Now they've done pretty decently to stay in the Premier League last season. They finished 15th last year, as you can see. They've had a lot of players in, a lot of players out as well, which could unsettle the team slightly, could improve it. I could be totally wrong, and Brighton may be one of the surprise packages of this season. But just looking at those names there are a good couple of players in there. Hugo Keita from Arsenal, being an Arsenal fan, it's nice to see him making the change to Brighton, see how he gets on there. But I still don't think there's enough strength in there for Brighton to stay off the relegation zone. So I think for them, they're going to be finishing at bottom of the table, and I'm sure a lot of you Brighton fans will not be happy with my prediction there. But let's jump into 19th place then. And who do we have at 19th? For me, it's going to be Burnley. Again, another team which did really well last season. As you can see there, they finished 7th in the Premier League, so finishing 19th as my prediction is a big change for them, and I'm sure again it will be a hard one for the fans to take. But they've only brought in one player, that is Vinny Steels from York City, as you can see on the left side of the screen there, and a couple of big players have left the squad as well. But I still think they are going to be struggling this year. Again, they could surprise me again, finishing the top half, maybe even Europe again. But for me, 19th place, just one spot ahead of Brighton. It could be close though at the bottom of the table, no matter who is going to be there this season. I think it's going to be a good battle for those relegation zones. Who's going to stay up, who's going to go down? I think whoever does go down will be unlucky on the last day of the season. But there we go, Burnley in 19th place for me. Let's jump straight into 18th. Who's going to be finishing in 18th? And it is going to be Southampton. They had a terrible season last year, did Southampton. I am a big fan of Southampton. I do like the way they play their football, and the youth academy is great as well. They do bring out some good youngsters. They finished 17th last year. They've made a lot of changes out, which is good for them. Some big names in there. Tadic has left. And they brought in 4 players as of the time of recording this. Some nice names in there, but I still don't think it's going to be good enough to keep Southampton in the Premier League. But like I said, it is going to be tight. Any of these 3 teams that we've put in the relegation zone so far could very easily stay up. And the next few teams that are going to be coming up, of course, could easily fall into the relegation zone, or again, surprise me and stay up themselves. But we'll wait and see. Let's jump into the next one then. We've got the bottom 3. They're the 3 relegated sides that we've got. We're going to jump into 17th spot. And who do we have there? I have predicted that for 17th place, it is going to be Watford. Now, Watford brought in quite a few players. They've sold quite a few as well, as you can see. Delafeu from Barcelona, they made that one a permanent deal. I think he was on loan before. So I think that is a permanent deal now from Barcelona. It would be a good signing for them. And they do have some good players already at the club, some of them getting on a bit, but I still think Watford will just stay out of the relegation zone. They finished 14th last season, so not a bad year for them at all. Always one of the main relegation favourites, I feel, Watford. But again, I think they'll just stay out of the relegation zone. Again, it could be another side which surprise everybody and push for 14th, maybe even top half of the table, but I don't see that happening this year. It'll be interesting to see where they do actually finish up, and as I said, they could be battling for those bottom 3 places, or the survival in fact. So there we go, 17th place is Watford for me. Let's jump into 16th place, and for 16th I have Cardiff City. Again, a side which could easily go into the bottom 3 for relegation. I don't like Cardiff City whatsoever, to be honest, so I do apologise to all you Cardiff City fans. They did finish up as the runners up of the championship last season, so they had a good season, and as you can see so far, no players going out. I don't know if that is true or not, but I couldn't find any players that have gone out. They brought in Josh Murphy from Norwich City, a good player there. Alex Smith is, Greg Cunningham and Bobby Reed from Bristol City, so plenty of championship credentials there, but will there be enough going forward into the Premier League? I think Josh Murphy, he's got Premier League talent. So I think he'll be a good signing for them. I have put him as their top signing. So I think for Cardiff City, 16th position is a good call for them. But again, as I said, they could very easily finish in the bottom 3 for relegation and a trip back to the Championship. So next up, Huddersfield Town. They finished 16th last season. They had a cracking year for them. And I think they'll do one better this year. They brought Diakabi in. Brought actually quite a few players in there, haven't they? They've been busy in this transfer window. But some of the players that they have brought in, 2 from Monaco. Borussia Dortmund, Eric Sturm. So I think they brought in some solid players. They've got quite a few going out as well. I had to cut off the bottom of their going outs because I think the list was even longer than it actually shows there. But I think they're going to have another good season. I think just surviving for Huddersfield would be their main objective. And I think they will do that. I don't think it will be as close as the relegation as the Watford and Cardiff City predictions. So they could even finish higher than 15th. But for me, 15th place for Huddersfield Town is a good prediction. Again, it will be interesting to see how they get on in their next season in the Premier League. But I think they will be safe. So jumping into 14th place, Crystal Palace. Now they had a pretty decent season last year, just finishing outside the top 10 in 11th place. They've only brought in 2 players as of recording this. 5 players have gone out. Kabai's left as well. Delaney, Cavallera, he's left, he's been released. Only Guata and Koyate from West Ham United have come in, so I think they may struggle more so than they did last year. As you can see, they did finish 14th, so I've put them down a little bit down to 14th. But with the signings in and out, I think again these could be a team which do struggle and could possibly be one for relegation. But for me, I think they'll just do good enough to stay up, and I think 14th place, maybe even one blow into 15th. Huddersfield might finish above Crystal Palace. But for me, 14th place then for Palace. I do like Palace, so I do hope that they do stay up. Let's jump into the 13th place then. We are heading towards the top 10. But for me, it's the playoff winners, Fulham. Now, I am a good follower of Fulham as well. I do like them being in the Premier League since the Kevin Keegan days and seeing them win the playoffs last season. 13th place for me. They brought in Andre Schürrle from Borussia Dortmund on loan, so that is a good signing for them, even though he is getting on a little bit. Mitrovic as well from Newcastle United, which is also a good signing. A couple of players from Nice. Jean-Michel Seri is a good player for Fulham. So they have been splashing the cash. I'm hoping they do stay up as well. I do see them doing good. So fingers crossed they're not in a relegation battle towards the end of the season. I think 13th place may be a little bit too much for them, but I think they can do it if they stay on board and play the good football that they can play sometimes. And Andre Schürrle banging in a few goals or assisting from that left wing, and Mitrovic getting on the score sheet as well. I think Fulham will do pretty good. Next up for me, 12th place is Bournemouth. They finished 12th last season, and I think the season before, and they were one of my teams to do well. They actually did pretty decent. So mid-table finish for Bournemouth is always good. Maybe they can push a little bit higher this year. And they've got quite a lot of players going out, as you can see there. Only 2 coming in so far. I have no idea if David Brooks or Diego Rico are any good. I don't know any of them, to be honest. So I'm sure the manager, decent manager of course, will have a say on that. He's brought him in for a reason. So I think Bournemouth will be okay. I think they'll stay far away from the relegation zone. So 12th place finish again for the following season will be a good season for Bournemouth. So we are, as I said, heading towards the top 10. And we've got the bottom 3 sorted. We've got the next 6 up there as well. So let me know below, guys. Who do you think is going to be getting a relegation? Are you agreeing with what I've predicted so far, or are you totally disagreeing? Leicester City is the next team up. I'm sure a lot of you will be disagreeing with this one, especially with Leicester City being recent Premier League champions. They finished last season inside the top 10 in 9th place, but I feel they're going to be a little bit more off the pace, especially after losing Mahrez to Manchester City. So I've dropped them down only a couple of spots, down to 11th. And they could surprise everybody again, but I don't think they've got the strongest squad. Remember, they are missing Kante. He's at Chelsea now. Vardy is not scoring as many goals as he used to. Still does get the goals, but with Mahrez not there, I don't think he will be getting as many as he once did. It'll be interesting to see that they've got a couple of good players coming in. Pereira's joined from FC Porto from Portugal. And Johnny Evans, he'll make the defence a little bit stronger at the back as well. James Maddison's in there, and Danny Ward from Liverpool. So it'll be an interesting season for Leicester City. But I think they'll just stay outside the top 10. And as long as they survive, you never know, they could always get relegated. Depends how they perform. But 11th place for me. Up into 10th is the top 10. Now this is one of my teams who I think are actually going to surprise everybody. They brought in some fantastic players. It could either work for them to put them into a 10th place finish, or it could go against them. Clear favourites last season for the championship, which they went on and win. They brought in Martino, of course, from Monaco. Look at all the players that they brought in. Paulo Alves. Who else in there? Rui Patricio is a fantastic goalkeeper, of course, from Sporting Lisbon. Benik Afobe, who I actually think has gone out on loan to Stoke City. So he's just gone out. I could be wrong on that. I have to double check. But I think with the players that they brought in, and with what a week to go before the transfer window closes, they could bring in another player or two. But fantastic signings there for Wolves, so I think they're going to have a great season. But like I said, it could go against them, and it could be fighting for relegation, but hopefully not. Wolves are a good side, so I think they'll be safe this year. Into the top 10, and as I said, into 9th place. They did finish in 10th last season, Newcastle. Now, I think Newcastle United were my surprise team last year, and a lot of you guys said, oh no, they won't finish in the top 10, but they did. They finished in 10th. So a good call there. I think they'll still do good as well this season. They'll slightly improve and maybe even get back to the team that they used to be, challenging for the European spaces. They brought in Kennedy on loan from Chelsea, so I'm sure he's going to have a good season at St James's Park. A few other signings in there. I'm not too sure of the other players, if they're any good. Again, mostly foreigners in there. A few going out as well. No real names to mention. Mitrovic did join Fulham. We mentioned that one earlier. But again, I think Newcastle United will have a good season. They'll stay far clear of relegation. At least that's what I'm predicting. So 9th place finish there then for the Magpies. And let's jump into 8th place then. We are getting close to the European spots now, and it is West Ham United. Now, I'm not a big fan of West Ham United. I hope they finish a lot lower than 8th, but that's where I put them today. 8th place for West Ham United. Of course, they brought in Jack Wilshere, big Arsenal fan, so it was sad to see him leave the club. But I'm hoping he does get a lot of starts and has a successful season at West Ham, nevertheless, wherever they finish. They've also brought in former Arsenal goalkeeper Lucas Fabianski, so I'm sure that's going to be a good signing for them. They've also got Yarmolenko, so they've got quite a few decent players in there. Felipe Anderson as well from Lazio, it's another good signing. A couple of players going out, as you can see. But with the players that they brought in, I think West Ham United will have a good season. May even go a little bit higher if they can put off a good performance throughout the season. Stay consistent, that's their problem. Stay consistent. Hopefully that Jack Wilshere can stay injury free as well, has a full season with West Ham. I'm sure he'll be pulling the strings through the middle of the park at the London Stadium. So into 7th place, and I've got Everton. They brought in Richarlison, is a good signing, of course, from Watford, and they've just recently brought in Lucas Digne a day or two ago from Barcelona for the defence. So 2 good signings. They've had a few players go out, but I still think they're stronger for it. They did lose David Klaassen, he's joined Werder Bremen. Luke Garbutt's gone out on loan. Wayne Rooney, of course, left. He's gone to DC United. So I think Everton will have a good season. Again, they could be lower than this. They finished 8th last season, and they could finish in the bottom half of the table. But for me, I think they're going to have a good season this year. 7th place will be a fantastic year for Everton, if I'm honest. Could even go to 6th. He'll be fighting for it, no doubt. And all the teams in the middle of the table right now could be fighting for any of these spots. But let's jump into the 6th place then. We're getting towards the Champions League spots as well, and then of course the top 4, who's going to be in these teams. I've got right now last season's 3rd place team, Tottenham. Obviously, being an Arsenal fan, it's easy to put Tottenham into 6th place, but they brought nobody in, which again could be good for them because they've already got the decent side, got some good players in there, and they've only lost 2 players going out, and they're not even first team players. So with Harry Kane scoring goals, Christian Eriksen scoring goals and assisting as well, and Dele Alli in there, Tottenham, they had some good players as well in the World Cup, especially for England, so Tottenham could easily finish higher than 6th place. They are moving into their new stadium as well, but it'd be interesting to see how they do go on in their new home. But I think they're going to struggle this year, and I think they'll be down into 6th. Just outside the Champions League spots then for Tottenham. But as I said, being an Arsenal fan, it's very easy to put them lower. But for me, 6th place for Tottenham will be a good season in their debut year in their new home. So into the top 5 we go in the Premier League, and I've got Chelsea. They finished 5th last season. I think that's where they're going to finish again. They've lost a lot of players, mostly youngsters going out on loan. They've only brought in 2, Rob Green more as a backup goalkeeper. There is rumours that Eden Hazard and Courtois could be on the way out. So if they do leave, they could even finish below Tottenham, maybe even Everton and West Ham. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what goes on there at Chelsea before the end of the transfer window. They have brought in Napoli's Jorginho, so that is a good signing for them. No doubt he will be assisting and scoring goals throughout the season. But I think they will struggle to put on a good title challenge this year to Chelsea. But I still think 5th place is a good season for Chelsea. Remember, they have changed manager as well, so it'll be his first season in London. Will be interesting. But I think Jorginho is a good signing nevertheless. And if they do manage to keep on hold of Courtois and Eden Hazard, they could even finish in the top 4, maybe even title challenge. But last season's runners-up I've put down to 4th place. They have brought in Fred from Shakhtar Donetsk. They brought in Dalot as well from Porto. And they've lost, who have they lost there? Michael Carrick. Nobody really to suffer Manchester United, but I don't think they're going to do as good as last season. There is rumours of Anthony Martial maybe leaving. I think he's just been fined for not turning up for some pre-season friendly or training or whatever. I would like Anthony Martial at Arsenal, if I'm totally honest. But I still think 4th place would be good for Manchester United. That is a Champions League spot, of course, and Chelsea and Tottenham will be fighting for that spot as well. But I think with the signings that they've made, not that great to be honest. Fred's a decent player. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on here in the Premier League. I felt the same against Willian when he signed for Chelsea, and he actually was a very good player when he signed. But let's jump into the top 3, and here we go. Last season's champions I've put down to 3rd. Mahrez have brought in, of course, the only real big name there. They've got Gomez as well, but Mahrez has spent the most for, I believe. I could be wrong, but Mahrez, obviously Premier League experience already, Premier League winner as well. He'll be looking for another Premier League title medal. Easily could win the league again. Manchester City still got Pep at the helm there. Some decent players already at the club. Have lost a few as well, as you can see on that left side. Yaya Toure, he's left. He could be back in the Premier League, I believe. I'm not sure if he's actually signed for anybody. I could be wrong. But he's left Manchester City, I know that much. But for me, I've put them down to 3rd place, which means we've got 2 spaces left, which is Liverpool and Arsenal. And then am I going to be biased and put Arsenal at the top, or are they going to just miss out to Liverpool, who are looking strong actually? But for me, in 2nd place, it's going to be Liverpool. I am being totally biased on this predictions this year. I've left Arsenal down below before in the previous predictions, but for me this year I've had to put Arsenal at the top. But it is Liverpool in 2nd place. Last season they finished in 4th, so it was a good year for them. They brought in some solid players, and Shaqiri has already had a good pre-season, scoring a cracking overhead goal, which I'm sure a lot of you have already seen that. They brought in KAIQOM, who's already been signed up a long time ago, and Fabinho from Monaco is a solid midfielder as well. I think Liverpool will have a cracking year if they can keep it up, with Salah scoring goals, Mane as well, of course, Firmino putting in the performances. If those 3 can keep continuing to do what they do, and Shaqiri coming in to add to that, I think Liverpool will have a really good season. Maybe this year they could even go one step further and finally win the Premier League title. It's going to be tough though. The top 4 is going to be tough. But for me, as I said, the Premier League champions this year is going to be Arsenal. Now, why do I say Arsenal? Well, of course, we've just lost Arsene Wenger. He left the club, and we brought in Unai Emery. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on in the Premier League. But I've watched a lot of pre-season games so far this season. We've seen the players who have come in as well, back from the World Cup. Torreira being one of those. Lucas Torreira from Sampdoria. Liechtensteiner from Juve. Bernd Leno as well from German football, Leverkusen. All interesting signings, all players that we need to do good this year, and we've even got the youngster from Lorient as well. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name because that's something I'm still working on, but he's been putting in good performances, as well as Lacazette and Aubameyang linking up really well this year. I'm hoping they can continue on and help us reach the top of the table, and maybe even win the Premier League. But there's mine, guys. Let me know below what you think of this. Who do you think is going to finish in the top 3? Who's going to get relegated? Leave a like if you did like today's episode. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I appreciate all your support, and I'll see you in the next one.